What's going on, everybody, over on YouTube? High Stim Ace here, and I'm feeling pretty freaking hopped up today. I got my co-host Alex Hammerstone, my main man, and we have a special guest today, our good friend Harry from Premium Fitness Supplement Reviews. I think I butchered that already. What's going on, brother?
Good. Premium Supplement Reviews. Yeah, I had to rebrand because honestly, YouTube always gets on your ass about certain videos. So all that wrestling content I had deleted because they were saying I got basically like a system to cease order because I took clips of different companies. So that's the rebranding. But at least now it's just all reviews for supplements.
Bro, they are so uptight about so much stupid crap on YouTube. I swear to God, it's freaking crazy, man. I really go out of my way to stay under the radar, especially after the review bros caught that little ban and then they luckily got their channel back. But I'm so freaking careful even when I say certain things because it's all freaking AI today. You know what I mean? It's all like AI and you just got to be careful with that stuff. But anyway, I'm getting back from the gym. Just got back like 2 hours ago and going to give a little preview for tomorrow's video. This is Smack with a K. Actually, Hammer introduced me to this pre-workout and a really, really good one, man. I watched your review not too long ago to kind of get a little bit of a preview for it. And this thing is freaking really nice. Definitely smacks you, but in the best way possible. So, Hammer, where are you coming from today? I know you just caught a flight back from a wrestling show.
I was in Chicago yesterday, so
wow,
nothing too far. But man, I messed up last night. My buddy, I'd been having a lot of sleep problems, and my buddy gave me some edibles. He said, "Hey, try a little ones of these," and like they're like the total, like they were like these gummy strips. So like I knew the milligrams of like the total strips. So I was like weighing them and then precision cutting them to get the dosages I wanted. But then when I left for the weekend, I didn't like weigh it. I just kind of eyeballed it. And I don't remember if I packed 2 or 1 dose worth. All I remember is after my match, I was like, okay, I want to be able to sleep. So as soon as my match was done, I grabbed it and ate it all. And I was like, wait a minute, that might have been 2 servings. And I didn't even like measure it properly. So it might have been like 3 servings.
Oh my God.
And all I know is I woke up a couple hours later in the night and I could not go back to sleep because I was out of my mind. I could not function. I couldn't think. I was paranoid. I ended up going like down to and waiting for the shuttle like an hour before the first shuttle even came because I was like convinced that I was not functioning well enough to like make it through an airport. So I was like, I got to give myself the best chance possible. So it was not a lot of sleep last night. I kind of messed up.
But what kind of edible is it? Is it like a CBD or THC and CBD combined, or just THC?
I don't know exactly. I think it's THC and CBD combined. All I know is I've used what he gave me a couple times and had no issues. Just slept nice. But this time I got high out of my mind. Like I don't smoke and I don't like do drugs. So it's like, it's not I don't normally use this stuff. I just been using it to help me sleep. But this, however much I took last night, man, I was out of my mind. I could not, I had no perception of time. I was like waiting for this shuttle and it's like 4:41 and I'm checking my phone like, oh, did it come yet? And I look, it's like I've been eating for like the last 10 minutes. I look down to 4:42. Like another freaking grab my phone in a panic, like, oh my, did I miss it? 4:43. I just like it was rough.
Yeah, so when you're not used to it, it can hit you pretty hard. I do have firsthand experience, and I still dabble with it, but very, very casually. I do have gummies I get from a certain website, but they're like a mix of THC, 5 milligrams, which is a relatively low dose, and then 25 milligrams CBD, which is more for like, physical relaxation, also mental relaxation, anti-inflammation, and they also put in a little bit of L-theanine in those gummies, but not like a big dose. I think it's also like 25 milligrams, which, what the hell is that going to do? But I usually, like, if I want to unwind, sometimes I'll take like a half, you know, and I'll add an L-theanine capsule to it, and then it kind of mellows me out, but without getting me high. You know what I mean? So you just feel like a very nice mellow relaxation. But they're pretty interesting. So if you want, maybe I could send you a couple your way. You can check them out. They're actually very solid. But it really has to do with the dose. And I know that not all brands are created equal, because I think it was like last year or a year and a half ago, like all this stuff was fully legal here in New York City. Now they started cracking down, so it's only like licensed dispensaries. But they used to have these little corner stores, you know, these little bodegas, and they literally were selling gummies and mushrooms and like a whole bunch of crap. You know, you could just like get it anywhere. It was crazy. And I got one once, you know, and I'm not an expert in this stuff. So I told the lady, like, I just want something to take to mellow me out, but without getting me crazy. You know what I mean? Bro, I don't know what the hell she gave me, bro. It was spiked. I don't know what was in it, but I was tripping for like 10 hours straight, and I couldn't come off of it, bro. Like shaking, like I felt like I was walking through clay, if that makes sense. And I was shaking and sweating and anxious, and Jesus Christ, it was freaking crazy. Oh my God, it was freaking nuts.
Oh,
guys, whoever's watching this right now.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry. I'm just gonna cut you off for a second. Whoever's watching this right now, first of all, don't forget to leave the like. It really, really helps. And yes, we've been away for 2 weeks, so a lot of catching up to do. And we do have our friend Harry from Premium Supplement Reviews joining us today. Obviously, my co-host for every week, Alex Hammerstone. So we are glad to be back. Whoever has any questions, comments, whatever, put it in the chat. We will get to it by the end of the video. Harry, what were you saying? I'm sorry I cut you off.
Now, I was going to say that the reason why there's a crackdown in New York, because a couple of my friends were telling me that certain shop owners were spiking it with fentanyl. So because of that, all that was, because you would never see anybody lean from marijuana, and a lot of people were leaning like real, like on the fentanyl stuff. So that's the breakdown. So the only brand when it comes to oils, because like my mom has arthritis, so she uses it all the time. It's called Mellow Fellow. It's like a little vape thing, but that thing is like $60-$70. It'll last you months and a couple pulls, and you'll just be out like three pulls, and she's like, I'm going to sleep.
Yeah. I try not to dabble with this stuff too much. You know, for me, it's more like a weekend thing. Like, you know, we got the Super Bowl tonight. I'm probably going to tune in. So, you know, I might have half, you know, just to kind of get me a little bit zoned in. But honestly, I'm still kind of riding the buzz from that Smack pre-workout. Really, really freaking like that pre-workout. But speaking of pre-workouts, guys, let's talk about High Stim Hitter. So this is my pre-workout, which, you know, I've kind of been keeping under wraps for a while. I've had the formula for a very long time, and the original formula actually looked a little bit different. I'm going to spoil the beans right now and say that the original formula did have DMBA and hordenine in it. Unfortunately, we gotta be compliant, so we had to work with what was available, and I had to tweak it a little bit. But for the very first time on the show, we are going to be revealing the label for High Stim Hitter, which is a collaboration between myself and Project M Supplements. So super, super exciting. And I only shared this with like 2 people, by the way. So Harry, you haven't actually seen this label yet, right?
Nope. I was like, let me just wait for it.
All right. And Hammer, I know you have seen it because I've sent it to you, because I sent you everything. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to put that up on the screen right now. And I just got to get rid of the banner. Here we go. Voila. How about that? So we do it the typical Project M Supplements way, right? We kind of split it into a bunch of categories over here. I didn't want to get too crazy with the categories, but for pump, actually, this is the outdated label. The L-citrulline is actually supposed to be L-citrulline malate, but everything else is the same. So 10 grams of L-citrulline malate, which, Hammer, what do you think about citrulline malate? Because this debate's been going on forever. And, you know, a lot of people will shit on citrulline malate, including my good friend Robic, the owner of Apollo Nutrition. He hates citrulline malate. And you know how much Robic is into his labels, right? But I like it if it's dosed properly. So 2-to-1 ratio, a minimum of 8 grams, preferably 10 or 12. To me, that way you get enough citrulline, and also you get the malic acid, which kind of helps everything come together. What's your take on this?
I mean, I feel like when people try to say that in their real world experience that they got a noticeable difference between the two, I think they got the thumb up their ass, and they're just, you know, it's like, you know, like for example, like, I always say like, oh, I like it when a pre-workout has a caffeine blend, you know, if it's, you know, instead of 400 milligrams of caffeine anhydrous, has a blend of citrate, dicaffeine malate, and caffeine anhydrous. But realistically, if I take two pre-workouts and they both have a total caffeine amount of 400 milligrams, can I confidently say that I can tell you which one would have had the blend? No. I think maybe I would be able to pick it out, but I think that's kind of the same thing when it's like people talking about citrulline. It's like if you have 10 grams of citrulline malate, you're probably going to get a pump. If you have 10 grams of pure citrulline, you're probably going to get a pump. Is one actually going to be like, wow, I really noticed this one over the other one? Probably not. It's one of those things where it's like technically on paper, is it going to yield a better result for some people? Potentially, but real world, how does that play out? I mean, you're talking about freaking splitting hairs at that point.
See, you just have this amazing gift to simplify things in a very, very easy to understand way where anyone could understand. I call it the bro logic, the professor logic. You just have a way to simplify things. And it's so true. A lot of times we do get caught up, because it creates hype. When you're revealing a label for a new product, it creates hype. But in the end of the day, like TJ says, the OG legend, labels are just labels. TJ would have thrown in a few F-bombs in there too. But yeah, now we're going to continue. Got some beta-alanine, 4 grams, right? It's a little bit more than the clinical. We like the beta tingles. We're all about that. And then we have the fun energy and focus package, right? So N-acetyl L-tyrosine, which is 3 grams, I do believe. I think that is 3 grams. Yeah. Kind of hard to see over here, but really good dose. I freaking love tyrosine. Harry, I know you're a big fan of nootropics. You've always been into all those nootropic heavy pre-workouts, even more so than 2-amino.
We're going to nootropic right now.
Which one? What you got over there?
Ghost, Swedish Fish. It's going out of
fire.
Yeah, just picked it up at the gas station. So on the way over here. Yeah, so always into nootropics.
Yeah, the bodegas seem to have them, even though I think they're supposed to discontinue them at some point. The Swedish Fish and the Sour Patches, I think they're discontinuing them, but the bodegas seem to have them all stocked up all the time.
Yep. Gorilla Mine now has the rights, so Gorilla Mine now has the flavor to this Swedish Fish. So it's very similar. It's hard to like really tell.
Yeah, I'm sure there's not going to be much of a difference. But all right, let me lean in a little bit over here because I'm forgetting. Alpha GBC, I think it was 8,000 milligrams because 600 everybody does. And I just kind of want to add a little bit of that extra to really top things off, Caffeine anhydrous, 400 milligrams. That's kind of the sweet cutoff point for me. And going back to what Hammer was saying, who cares about tri sources or quad sources or whatever. I think what was it? 5% Nutrition said they had 8 forms of caffeine in their 5150. I mean, Jesus Christ, but that is a good pre-workout though. So yeah, now we have the Yum Yums, right? Coming in at 300 milligrams. I really wanted to get that nice good dose in there, good 2-amino. Oriya 300 also, right? So we have the 1-to-1 ratio. Halostashin, which is a nice little stim that adds like a speedy type of effect. And now this is where it's going to start getting interesting and unique. New Pep at 100 milligrams. What do you guys think about that?
I do. I like, a lot of people, usually the typical standard dose that was like pretty common, you would see is 30 milligrams, but I've taken it because I have bulk New Pep and I have like a 10-gram container of it. So I was, whenever I would use it and add it to a supplement, I was like really carefully trying to measure out roughly like 30 milligrams. And then like one day I actually dumped like 75 in there. I was like, screw it. I took it, no negative effects. And I've used it up to like close to 100 milligrams plenty of times with no negative drawback. And I think it is such a short half-life that like you might get like a bit of a rush from it, but it's, even if it is a little bit overstimulating at like 100 milligram dose for some people, it's synthesized in the body so quick that it's nothing that's going to like leave you with some kind of weird headache or have you feeling off. You know what I'm saying? Like that. So I think it's, honestly, having that typical standardized dose of like 30 milligrams was kind of underdosing it for a lot of people.
So I'm kind of on the same boat, and I don't know if it's just because I'm a big guy. You're a big guy too, obviously. But for me, 30 milligrams of New Pep, and I did the same thing. Digital kitchen scale. I have those tiny, long, little lab spoons, measured it so little. 30 milligrams never did anything. Heck, even 50 never really did much for me. I never felt New Pep until I got to like 75, 80 milligrams. At that point, I started feeling like a very clear nootropic focus. Like you said, it does fade away. But my thought process in this label was I have the other two nootropics, the tyrosine and the alpha GBC. So I want the new pep to kind of give like this initial in the bubble feeling. And then the other ones are going to kind of carry it across to the finish line. You know, that's the thought process anyway. Again, who knows how it's all going to come together, but this is just my thought process. I wanted to create something unique, you know, something that really puts you in a bubble and gives you a tunnel vision focus similar to Smash AMF or Kill Switch, but without including whatever extra crap they're throwing in there. Because both of those are spiked up the ass, you know. So we're not doing no spiking over here. We're working within the confines, but we're really going to be bringing something special here. So 100 milligrams of new pep. I think a lot of people are really gonna enjoy that. And then we have to have the GBB because I freaking love my thermogenics. If it was up to me, I would have put the GBB at 60, but I know that most people aren't insane like me, and most people actually feel GBB, so we kept it at 30. You know, I feel like 30 is a good dose for people that aren't necessarily used to it, but they're still going to get that sweat, the mental stimulation. I don't know about you guys. For me, when I take Molotov, which, you know, has GBB and like a bunch of other stuff, when I take it in middle of my workout, so like let's say I'm 40 minutes into the workout and then I'm going to the locker room and I kind of want to like re-up a little bit, I'll take half a dose of Molotov, and within 5 minutes, it's almost like it gives me a second wind. Like those thermogenics kind of reactivate those stimulants. Do you get that?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, like there's just a physical sensation that comes with certain other thermogenic elements like the GBB. Like if you throw GBB and carnitine and you already have alpha yo brewing, it's like it's going to create this like second wave of like a physical stimulation that's like I always say it's like a pseudo energetic feeling, because like technically it's not a stimulant, but it's like when you feel your body like internally warming up. Like I'm sure there's been days where it's like, if it's like, you guys live in some cold places, you might get to the gym and be like so frozen that like you go sit in the sauna for 5 minutes before you even start your workout. Because like once you feel warm, you feel more ready to go. So when you have ingredients that are kind of doing that from an internal standpoint, I mean, it gives you, like I said, a kind of a pseudo sense of energy.
Yeah, bro. Speaking of cold days, man, do you know what the hell we're dealing with? I mean, you're coming back from Chicago, so I'm assuming it's just as bad there as it is here. Literally this morning when I woke up, and I'm not even kidding, I took a screenshot, okay? Literally 5 degrees outside, feels like minus 12. I kid you not. Yeah, so literally the coldest day of the year we had so far. We've had a rough winter, and you see I got my gloves on my hand. That's not just for aesthetics. I'm not bringing back.
You're going through your My Chemical Romance phase.
Yeah, no, I was listening to some Ghost earlier, and some Silverstein, but yeah, man, I'm freaking freezing over here. My room over here, my studio room, like there's a big window on that side over there, and the wind kind of like seeps through a little bit. So even when I insulate it or whatever, it makes no difference, brother. You know what I mean? It's just freaking crazy. It's been freaking freezing in here, man. It kind of makes it hard also to go to the gym at nights because I get home from work at like 6 p.m. It's already dark out, and it's like freaking, single digits, sometimes 10, 11, 12 degrees. Man, it's been freaking rough. But we're doing it, man. We're freaking doing it. How's Chicago, by the way, Hammer?
It was fine. I mean, I was in and out. I flew in the day of. So I flew out yesterday morning, and then I was on the first flight out this morning. So I was in and out, didn't really do much besides see the venue and see the hotel,
But in terms of like the temperature, was it freezing there as well?
It was pretty cold. There was a lot of ice, ice build up, and then when we got out of the show at night, it was snowing pretty good. So yeah, definitely not my cup of tea.
Yeah, we got a lot of snow over here, bro. I got to come to Arizona soon, man. I got to freaking defrost. I can't warm my fingers no matter what I do. It's freaking crazy. Harry, you were gonna say something. I feel like I cut you off earlier.
Yeah, but I'm gonna respect if your train of thought, because I know sometimes it just goes out the window, and I'm like, let him get it out more than anything. Yeah, but I just wanted to talk about this label, man, because with the new pep, bro, I think the last time I've actually seen like a company go hard with the new pep was like Kilo Labs, because I know they had it in like the 2024 formulas, but then I think it was like 30 grams, but then they just took it off the label. And also, I don't know if you remember Kilo Labs when they had their original aminos. It had new pep in it for their aminos. So it like I used to take that, and I think it was like between, I think it was like 15 or 20 milligrams. So it does give that nootropic boost, and it adds like a nootropic bubble. But like Hammer was saying, it kind of like fades away after a while. And looking at this, like, you know, the GBB and the Alpha Yo with the Yohimbine, I'm thinking like it gives me more of like the far beyond driven stack. You know how that vibe goes. So I'm like, if you're gonna push something to the level, like this is that pre-workout, and I'm just excited, man. Like everything is so high dosed, but that new pep
Yeah.
100 milligrams, whew, I know
So
I'm gonna
with
get
new
sweaty.
pep, yeah, with new pep, and I read this somewhere, so I could be completely wrong, but I heard that people will take like 15 to 30 milligrams daily, you know, and it like saturates in your system, you know. So maybe that's why when like I take 30 milligrams once in a blue moon, you know, I don't really
Mhm.
feel all that much because I'm not stacking it. I don't know if there's truth to it or not, but Hammer, you have any information about that? You're the professor.
Actually, like if you want to get the most out of new pep, a lot of people will dose it multiple times throughout the day. So instead of doing like a bolus dose of like 100 milligrams, they'll do like 20 to 30 milligrams every 3 to 4 hours, which, unless you had it in pill form, sounds completely inconvenient. But that would probably be technically the most effective way to use it, but it's also kind of the least practical way to use it, you know?
It sounds like what's that term? Microdosing. They did a
Yeah.
they did a South Park
Yeah.
episode with was a recent one, not from this season, but I think like the season before this one. And what's his name? Randy Marsh was microdosing freaking like
Oh yeah.
amphetamines or some shit, bro. I was so he was like, I'm microdosing, I'm microdosing.
It was
That was
ketamine that he was doing, the Elon Musk thing, that like the more
ketamine.
ketamine
That's
they
what it
did,
was.
the more technology they could like run up. It was a funny episode.
Yeah, it was a good one. I feel like they fell off in general, but once in a while they still put out a banger. You know, that's why I still keep up with it, because even if there's like 5 shit episodes, there's still gonna be a good one. You know what I mean? So I do keep up with it. But yeah, let's go ahead and finish. I mean, you already touched upon the Yohimbine, so we got the yo-yo blend in here, and this
Mhm.
is probably gonna scare off like half of the viewers. 4 milligrams of Yohimbine and then 4 milligrams of Alpha Yo. But you know that when it comes to Project M supplements, you know, and I'm just saying this because I'm objective and I'm always honest, their
Mhm.
Alpha Yo isn't quite as strong as others. You know, like I wouldn't compare the Project M Alpha Yo to the Edge of Insanity or Psychotic, you know,
Yeah.
where you're like tweaked
Yeah.
out and you're hopped up, or hypermaxed or whatever. Like those are, you know, those are the crazy potent ones, or like the Wrecked and Raged, you know, those were freaking nuts, you know,
Yeah,
but
like that sense of urgency and the sweats. It's like it's crazy. But here
yeah,
it's
so
moderate.
here it's like a little more, you know, it's 4 milligrams of each, but really it's probably going to feel more like 2 milligrams of each, realistically speaking. So I think that's, you know,
Mhm.
it's something that people could handle. And also it's funny because I make fun of this all the time, you know, the 40-20, like I'm always making fun of it. And here we are doing 40-20. But in this case, I think it does make sense because this is an intense label. And, you know, if all comes together the way I want it to, this thing's going to hit hard for a long time, you know? And we're really trying to tackle every angle. We want to have the sense of aggression, the sense of urgency, that hopped up feeling, but also that good DMHA buzz, the nootropic focus, and the pump. So we're really like throwing the kitchen sink in here, but with a methodical thought process. You know, we're not just throwing a bunch of shit in here and hoping it sticks. Like this is a thought out label that I myself created. And again, had to take out the DMBA, had to take out the hordenine, but you know, we really made do with what we have. But realistically speaking, if you take this even at 1 scoop, you know, giving you 40 servings, like this thing should still freaking hit. I mean, you still got a lot. You still got 50 milligrams of new pep, GBB, you know, you got all that stuff in there. So people that are starting out, you know, you could take this at 1 scoop and then pair like, you know, 5 grams of citrulline or whatever, you know, to give it like a little extra pump. And you got yourself something that's not quite as intense, but still something really, really strong. So, guys, initial feedback. Let's hear it starting from Hammerstone. Brutally honest.
I mean, I like it a lot. It's you know, it manages to, you know, give you kind of what you want, but also with enough of a twist that it stands on its own as something unique. You know, like it's really easy to just go, you know, okay, well, 750 PEA, 500 Raya, 300 DMHA, 400 caffeine. It's like the fucking what, you know, a lot of the Dark Labs formulas had as like the base stim package, you know, Or, you know, you see like in the high end appalling stuff, there's like, they have like similar stim complexes that are going to follow product to product. So it would be really easy to just kind of copy and paste that, but to give you all of those elements, but have a little bit of a unique twist, like throwing in, you know, the N-acetyl form of tyrosine, you know, throwing in the new pep, having a halostation in there. Like it's gonna, I think this will have enough of its own personality that like people, when they use it, they're gonna have a reason to use this over other things, you know, and that's the main goal, right?
You put it so perfectly, man. That's why me and you were like freaking mental sync, you know. That's exactly, you know, you hit the nail on the head, because that's like, I have certain pre-workouts, and obviously there's a lot of good pre-workouts in this day and age, but a lot of them are interchangeable, you know, especially when you're like us, you know, we're reviewing stuff regularly, we get sent stuff or we buy stuff, you know, a lot of them over time become interchangeable, and you will say, okay, I gave this a good review, it's a good product, but realistically, I have another, you know, 60 tubs in here, so I'm probably not going to go back to this one, even though it was good. Now, the ones that stand out are the ones that really, like you said, have their own personality, where, you know, for me anyway, Kill Switch, Excelsior, Crack Purple, DMAA, you know, Edge of Insanity, Hypermax Stout, you know, or a million others. You know, basically the shelf that I have behind me is mostly for those products that to me stand out, because I have another shelf here where people can see, you know, stuff that's kind of like my medium category. And, you know, I have a category here for my pumps and for my nootropic based pre-workouts. Like I have a whole setup here that nobody sees, but basically the whole back section is really the stuff with personality, with character, something that's like, okay, I'm going to run this pre-workout right now, and I know exactly how it's going to make me feel. You know, today I'm going to go with that Eris Titanium, and I know I'm going to have that good mood elevation. Or I could take one of my crazy Althea ones, Mr. White Yayo, and I know I'm going to be tweaking like somebody who just did a couple of lines, you know, but in the best way possible. So, damn, I'm freaking passionate about this shit, man. I mean, all of us are. That's why we're doing it. This is freaking amazing stuff. Harry, give me your initial thoughts. I know you went into this blind, so tell me what you think, man. Brutally honest.
Honestly, I think it checks all the boxes, because, like, let's say you're looking at it like somebody who's just trying to dabble. You got that one scoop of everything, you know, at half the dose. So then automatically they get introduced to it. And then if they see that one scoop is good enough, then they got the pre-workout for longer. But then if they see one scoop isn't enough, then they could go up to that 2-scoop level. And also, like, if you're looking for nootropics, you're not throwing too much, you know, DMHA at them initially. And with the caffeine 400, I think that's like everybody's sweet spot, because after a while, like, even if you're starting at the gym, 400 has to be standard, I guess, because you're coming in either in the AM, like if I'm going to go work out 5, 6 in the morning, I need some strong ass caffeine to get me going, or even in the afternoon, because you're already wiped out from work or whatever. And then, you know, you get that fat burner section. So it's like, it checks up all the boxes. So anybody, even if you're at your weight that you want to, you always want to shed a pound or two, so that GBB alpha yo combination, you get that right there. And I love that you pick estrogen, because, you know, estrogen just doesn't help with the absorption, also helps with the gut health. So you instead of the black pepper extract, which kind of will make you sweat more, but regardless, I feel like all around, man, it fits everybody's criteria, whether you're just like in beginning of stages of working out, or you are a stim junkie, because you could go 2 scoops. And I know probably somebody's gonna be crazy enough and do 2.5. So yeah, it's true. Like, we know those people. Like, I remember like a little side note, like when I know GGH was like doing Reddit stuff, and it was like somebody took like 4 scoops of forgot what this pre-workout was, but in total it was like 1,500 milligrams of caffeine. And I'm like, what the hell's going? Like, how are you still functioning? So I know that at least somebody would want to at least take 2.5 and just go crazy in the gym. But regardless, man, this is a great pre-workout, and it does match the High Stim name for real.
For sure, bro, for sure. And even the name, you know, I had this name already for such a long time, and it's so simple, but I think there's a little bit of a genius to it, because that's like a common phrase that we use in our little stim junkie community. Oh man, that's a hitter, bro. That's a high stim hitter right there. So now this is literally the high stim hitter officially. you know. So that was kind of the thought process, and you know, I'm really happy with the way it came together. Now, obviously, I know that labels are just labels, but I do trust Project M supplements. This is why I teamed up with somebody who I do trust. And listen, I'm going to be honest, not every single one of their products is a home run. I think 90% of their stuff is good. I had some stuff that was okay. I never had a bad product from Project M, but I had some stuff that was, you know, just fine. And then most of their stuff, you know, Mindbender, was freaking amazing. Judgment Day was probably still my favorite to this day. Dark Side of the Rhino was more like a medium feeling, but I still really liked it. Super clean, great pumps, great focus. But, you know, they take a lot of chances. They do a lot of products like that Barely Stim pump formula, right? With Master Chief.
Yeah, that.
Tell me about it, bro.
I felt something tingling in my brain, bro. Like the nootropics, the Lion's Me, or something was really well sourced, bro. Every time I tried it. And those pumps come in pretty quick, so I know the sourcing is up there. Oh, and I want to touch on one supplement that they do have is the Insanity, I think it's called, with the zombie popping out with I think that was a collab with Steel Asylum. And like one day, like my brother's like, "Hey, you got something new for me to try out?" I'm like, "Sanity is good flavor," and he hasn't returned it. So I'm saying like he does like daily stim. For him, that's like a daily because he used to take the OG Maniaco like I think it was like 3/4 of the scoop every day. So that one like fit his pre-workout stack like perfectly. So I guess they're always gonna come out with something and it's random, but the sourcing I gotta say it's always well sourced all around with their ingredients.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop another little teaser / reveal on here, and even though this is this is a long way away, but we are also working on a non-stim pre-workout. And like you mentioned, Harry, when you just said that with the Master Chief Pump Extreme Barely Stim product, you could feel it, right? Even though there's, I mean, you have the Alpha-O in there, obviously that adds a little, but you know, there's like 2 or 3 non-stim products that I feel. So Huge Supplements Pump Serum, like I can feel it almost on a physical level. Bare Knuckle and Sicario. I think Sicario the most out of all of them. I think it's all those nootropics. You know, even though there's no caffeine or anything, like I'm lit up when I take it. Like I could take that and just train non-stim, you know, for real. So I want this pump product that we're doing, and I shouldn't even call it a pump product. It's a non-stim, fully loaded pre-workout. But I'm going to tell you, you've never seen anything like this before. No stimulants, not even Alpha-O, nothing. No stims whatsoever. But I'm trying to get that in the bubble feeling and just the craziest pumps possible. So it's still a work in progress. It's a long way away, but it's down the pipeline. So I just wanted to drop that little itty bitty bit of information on here. All right, and we're gonna go to get the banner on here. All right, here we go. We got everything set up. I'm freaking hopped up, man. I'm freaking happy you guys are both on here. This has been a long time in the making. Hammer, another little bit of an interesting story. Harry, Hammer's going to be wrestling in New York City, right, in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think
I'm hoping I'm going to get to see.
I want to say we actually are going to end up having like 3 dates in a row out there at some point.
Bro, New York City's got an awesome wrestling crowd. You know, I've never actually went to a WWE event, but I've been to like 3 or 4 TNA events, and those were freaking amazing. One of them was in Hammerstone Ballroom, and, you know, that's back when they had the Hardys, they had Team 3D. Bobby Lashley was there, you know, it was like 2012, 2013, like that kind of era, EC3, you know, so that was a freaking amazing show. But New York City in general has very hot wrestling crowds, even for independent shows. Like I went to House of Glory, I think it was, in Queens, and also great show, by the way. Drew Galloway was on there. Bro, this was a long time ago. Mickey James was there. You know, they had some pretty big names there, and the crowds are just freaking really, really into it. So, yeah, you're coming with MLW, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be a freaking good time, and I'm really hoping to go out there and meet you wherever it is. That's going to be definitely going to be a good time. But we're going to talk a little bit about wrestling right now because we got a pro wrestler here, the powerhouse himself, Alex Hammerstone, and Harry, who's a bit of a diehard fan and professor in his own right. So, we want to talk a little bit about the Royal Rumble because that is one of the big shows that the WWE does. And I don't really watch weekly anymore. Heck, I don't even watch monthly. I watch like 4 or 5 big shows, you know, the Rumble being one of them, WrestleMania, obviously, Money in the Bank, and like 2 other shows. And that's pretty much how I keep up with it, other than listening to some podcasts. But this year, the Rumble was different. It was in Saudi Arabia, which up until this point, they had their own shows just for Saudi Arabia, which I'm okay with. But the Rumble itself, going over there, a lot of people did not take kindly to that, you know, and especially with all the speculation that, you know, maybe they are interested in selling to the Saudis. You know, Saudi Arabia just got EA Sports. You know, you never thought that was going to happen. And they're really trying to build like a whole entertainment center. They're trying to turn into America in the Middle East. So it would make sense for them to acquire WWE. So there's a lot of speculations. Nothing's confirmed. But when you see the Royal Rumble being like the second biggest show of the year being put in Saudi Arabia, it really gets you thinking, right? So Hammer, start us off. Give us your thoughts. What do you think about the Rumble taking place there? Do you see a future where they might want to sell? What do you think about it?
I mean, it's just everything just changing so fast. It's like a, you know, never say never. Like, you know, even just the amount of changes that have taken past or taken, you know, have happened over the last like 10 years or so. It's like probably a lot of it, if you said like, hey, this is going to happen, it's like, no way would we have believed it. But like, stuff changes so quick, money moves around so quick, you know, brands put pressure on other brands. You know, but like you said, you know, it was one thing when they were doing like the greatest Royal Rumble and like making an event specifically for, you know, that country, versus now letting them host, you know, what is essentially their number 2. You know, you could argue SummerSlam, but it's Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and what Survivor Series are like the big 4.
So let's say Money in the Bank probably at this point.
Yeah. So to give them that honors, you know, it could be a sign of things to come.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And again, Saudi Arabia is trying to modernize, you know, little bit at a time. Obviously, their whole system's completely different than ours. But yeah, Harry, what do you think about this?
Honestly, like I felt like the Crown Jewel events like made it more exclusive for Saudi, like in the sense of okay, they're going like 2-3 times, but like just separating like, you know, the fan and everything like that I'm attached to in wrestling, like just looking at it as a business, is probably a good move in that sense that it potentially would happen just because one, they have the money for it, and WWE just acquired AAA wrestling not so long ago. So now, aside from having that catalog of ECW, WCW, and I think now they're doing like Evolve on Mondays, and they have so much going on. Like they have a show every single week, day of the week. I think Sunday is like their the one with Bully Ray and the Undertaker, like they're teaching LFG. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So you stack that all together, and then you have, oh, we just acquired AAA, and we're in collabs with TNA. It's like it's a good package if you're looking at it business wise. And the Saudis has always been a fan. Like they've been hot, like more fans, I think, than certain states in the United States. Because I know some states go harder when WWE shows up. But they even have, I think, like their own like Hall of Fame thing over there as well. Like it's like almost like the Undertaker has his own thing. So basically, I think it's a possibility because of the money, like business, and also they have connections with ESPN. But when you look at it as a wrestling fan, and you know, do I always want to see like female wrestlers like from neck to toe, like covered up? You know, after I'm getting used to not seeing them, you know, because there's always an appeal to it when it comes to that aspect. But aside from that, like you got to think about it. How will the Saudis do storylines, and would they keep specific people, or are they knocking everybody out? So for me, business wise, it would make sense. But as a fan, I'll just kind of like continue to step back instead of like leaning into the product.
Bro, you brought up a very interesting thing, and I never even thought about it, because usually the women cover up when they go, and it's like, okay, this is a one-day event, so, they do it like 3 times a year, whatever. Okay, it's like we've kind of come to accept that. But if they do buy the company, does that mean that this is the way they have to dress like every week for Raw, for SmackDown? Like, I never even thought about that. That's freaking crazy. That's nuts, right? They're going to have to go Power Rangers every single show. That's insane, man. I freaking imagine that. But yeah, but the show itself, first of all, I got to share this screenshot that Harry actually sent me because this is freaking incredible, right? So literally check this out right here. So January 5th, 2026, this is freaking empty desert right here. There is nothing. And then literally you see the timeline, January 15th and January 28th. They literally did this in less than a freaking month. They build up. I know it was all like scaffolding and whatnot, and people were afraid that everyone's going to sink or whatever. But, they literally had people around the clock doing this shit. I mean, this is freaking crazy right here.
That's wild. I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, this is nuts. And you want to hear the craziest part? And Harry didn't know. We were talking, before you came on off stream. Do you know that they actually took the entire thing down the very next day?
That's wild.
I mean, if that's not fuck you money, then I don't know what is. That's just freaking insane right there. I mean, you build an entire stadium for like 35,000 people, and then the next day, okay, that's it. Event's over. We're taking this boy down. Freaking insane, man. Yeah. But Harry, tell us what you thought of the show. We're not going to break down every match, obviously, but just kind of like your general pinpoints. Hammer, you said you watched like bits and pieces of it, right?
Yeah, just whatever, like little highlight clips and stuff.
Honestly, that's all you need. This was such an uneventful show, in my opinion. And, I'll give my opinion after. But there was only a couple of things that stood out for me. But Harry, go ahead and start us off.
Like initially, we got what I think it was like the championship match. I think it was like the one that I really like remembered was Sami Zayn versus Drew. And I was like, finally, he got squashed to the point that I don't think he's gonna come back. Because I'm like, I thought he was gonna go over. Literally, like he came out, he came dressed, like with like it felt like he was gonna win, honestly. And I was like, don't tell me they're gonna screw Drew again, because they always give him like that short run. Last time he got screwed by Damian Priest at Money in the Bank. What it was like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Came in, took the belt off of him, but that's part of the story. But I think that match was good because I actually seen Sami Zayn. Like I got like some NXT vibes from him, like some old Sami Zayn. But towards the end, like I thought he was at least gonna get a little comeback, second win. But that match really stuck with me because it kind of really showed the professional Drew was, that he could still make Sami look good after being like beat up for so long. But aside from that, like we're going to the women's rumble. I think that was the best one. The men's was a little bit too predictable because I think Roman Reigns like did like a little podcast right before the rumble, and we didn't like he wasn't really happy with what the direction was, like how they were doing it.
Yeah.
It kind of hinted like he's gonna win because this is the only way we're gonna bring more eyes on the product and more money into whatever their L's have been for the last couple, I think year and a half or so since they changed it up. But I think all around there wasn't really too much that really caught my eye. Just that championship match with Drew, women's rumble. And the only thing that I thought we were going to see, but after the show was over, we didn't get anything about Seth. So I blame ESPN for not being hushed, because they literally said, hey, you're coming back to injury and showing up at the Rumble. And they're like, oh, we got to scratch this. Like, it would have been such a great pop. But then afterwards, honestly, I think that was the key matches, the men's and women's, and then the championship match. Because after that, I think it just really was hard to see. And even you could even see the wrestlers. They looked out into the crowd like they were like, "Where's everybody else?" Because
they had a weird lighting setup. They had like basically every chair had like a light next to it. I guess they thought that once it would get dark out, it would create like a nice effect. But it just ended up looking weird because it looked like the chairs were empty, So it was a very weird I mean, it's something that would have worked well theoretically. You know, they probably had this concept and it's like, okay, we're going to do something. We're Saudi Arabia, you know, we're going to do something elaborate. But sometimes, you know, things don't work out the way you want it to. You know, it just happens all the time. I'll tell you what my main issue is, because I pretty much got the show I expected. Everything was kind of predictable, you know. My issue is fucking Triple H is always hyping shit up, saying there's going to be a lot of surprises and big things and new era and all that stuff. And then there is no surprises on the show. There's no surprise returns. You know, you didn't get Jericho or whatever. I had a feeling you weren't going to get him anyway. I think they're saving him for down the line. But, you know, there's nothing surprising there. You know, okay, they debuted, what's his name from AEW? Hobbs?
Hobbs, yeah. I forgot his regular name that he's going by now. I think that's his real name now, right? I think
yeah. Obafemi made his debut. Freaking impressive, bro. That dude's a beast. I mean, they have to be real idiots to drop the ball on him, and they just might, because they don't know how to write. I mean, they couldn't write for freaking Braun Strowman. So, you know, how is he going to be any different? I'm a pessimist, but, you know, the guy is freaking impressive. I mean, he's a beast, you know, freaking crazy. So I'm definitely interested in seeing what they're going to do with him.
I mean, I've wrestled him personally, so I guess.
Do tell. You
don't know that?
No.
You know, I had a 2-match run in NXT, and one of the matches was Obafemi.
Bro, I'm a casual wrestling viewer, so I did not know that. Please fill me in. How did that go?
That was great. That was my first ever NXT match. Was when I was in TNA and they were doing like the partnership. So,
all right, I'm literally gonna watch that as soon as we're done with the show. I'm gonna check that out. They have it on YouTube, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, they have it. They have it in full on the WWE channel. So
perfect. Okay, so I'm definitely gonna check that out. I lost my train of thought for a second. Oh yeah, the one match that really stood out to me the most on the show was the AJ Styles retirement match versus Gunther. That really stood out to me. And it's kind of a weird thing, you know, how we attach certain emotions to certain wrestlers. And, you know, like for me, AJ Styles is one of my favorites because I was watching TNA for many years, from like 06, 07. I wasn't watching WWE. I was watching strictly TNA from like 07 until like 2014, 2015, Billy Corgan era. And then I kind of just like fell out of it after that. They lost so many stars over those years, and I just felt like they had no star power, you know, and I stopped watching at that point. But I love TNA, and AJ was always the heart and soul of TNA. So, you know, seeing him lose, and I knew he was going to lose because they've been rushing all his matches and everything, but I'm sure there's something going on behind the scenes, because I'm just kind of surprised that he didn't stick around till WrestleMania. I mean, WrestleMania's in like, what, 2 months or whatever? Like, I don't know, unless maybe he's injured or he's got some family stuff. Like, who the hell knows?
His
but
contract
felt very
ended
abrupt.
in February. It ended in February, man.
But I'm sure they would have given him an extension for like 2-3 months. I mean, it's AJ freaking Styles, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know any. This is all speculation.
Yeah.
It could be one of those situations where, you know, they're like, he's like, well, you know, I'll say an extension to do something big at Mania, and then they don't offer him anything good that he wants. And then he's like, why am I going to sign an extension if, you know, I'm going to give me a good match at Mania? Like, if like this, the best match you're going to give me is right now, you know, like we never know what goes into those situations.
Yeah.
But I do have a feeling, you know, there's a lot of people who think he's going to pop up in AEW, and I have a feeling that he's not. I really think he's ready to, you know, just be done. But it'll be interesting to see if I'm wrong, because I don't think, you know, I think the course of the history of the company, we've learned that like no one big star coming into AEW is actually going to be the game changer. Closest thing they had to that was CM Punk, and not even that did it. But I don't think AJ will be that either, you know. It'll move the needle, but I don't think it'll like actually change the trajectory of the company. But if anyone could, he's, you know, pretty high up on the list of people who potentially have that power.
I think that you're actually right, because again, the way that this all went down, it was so abrupt. In like a month and a half, they had all these matches, and then like he's just done. They had the stipulation, and he was just finished after that point, you know. And you know, someone that's as big as AJ, I thought maybe I wouldn't expect him to give him the John Cena treatment where he goes for a whole year. Obviously, that wasn't going to happen, but at least like 2-3 months. You know, I thought they were going to do something till WrestleMania and stretch it out, and you know. But then again, you never know. Contract negotiations. Maybe he didn't have a good match, like Hammer said. You know, you're privy to all these things that we're not privy to, and we're just speculating as fans. That's all it is. But he didn't leave his gloves in the ring, so maybe just a little teaser, maybe just, you know, trying to instill a little bit of hope in people. But I was very sad in the end of that match. You know, that's what I was trying to get to initially when I said I had an emotional investment. Like, I know it's wrestling, I know it's scripted, I get all that, but you know what? I still felt really freaking sad after that match ended, you know? It's like, this is freaking AJ. I was watching him when he had the short hair and this guy was doing crazy flips, and my God, this guy was a freaking specimen, you know? And he was like a kid in TNA when I was watching. He was only a few years older than me, you know? Yeah. So when I'm watching him in my late teens and early 20s, he's a few years older than me. So, like, I grew up watching this guy, and it was sad. It was just like a little freaking sad seeing him go out like that, you know? So you get attached to characters, to storylines, to, you know.
I remember I felt pretty sad when like Triple H like finally was like, dude, I'm never gonna wrestle again. Because like I remember just like as like, you know, like my career was like starting to like, I was starting to realize like, oh, I'm actually gonna be able to be somewhat of a legitimate wrestler, not just a guy who wrestles for $20-$40 in gyms, you know. And I was climbing up the ranks and doing the indie thing and becoming a prospect. Like that's when I realized like, oh, like Triple H has this pattern where like a new guy comes in that he's into and he likes, and they build him up, and then Triple H wrestles him at Mania, or, you know, with, whether it was Batista or Sheamus, or, you know, he like finds these guys who he likes, and then like he'll have a program with them and like give them the rub at the end. And I was just like, I had this like delusion in my head, like that's gonna be me. I'm gonna get there, and we're gonna be fucking gym partners, and then he's gonna want to wrestle me, and then when it's like, obviously I like, oh, this is definitely gonna happen. No, but it was a fun pipe dream, you know what I'm saying? So then once he like announced his retirement, it was just that realization, like, well, that's definitely off the table. It was just like, damn, that hurts.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine. That was after he had the heart situation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I heard he was like close to dying, you know. It's freaking terrifying, you know. So he definitely can't go back to the ring. I mean, I was a huge Triple H fan as a kid. You know, I'm not such a big fan of Triple H the booker, but you know, Triple H the wrestler, I mean, holy shit. When I grew up my hair for the very first time, partially it was because the freaking Triple H hair is buff like Thor freaking hair flowing down, you know. So that was part of my reason for the very first time when I had the long hair back in the day, you know, Triple H. And yeah, it was mainly Triple H, but man, that guy was just freaking, he was on another level, freaking DX. Even in like 06, 07, when they had those like mini DX reunions, you know, and they would just give Vince McMahon a hard time for a couple of weeks and then they disappear, you know, until the next reunion. Like, I freaking love all that stuff. You know, I don't care if it's nostalgia or whatever. I still love all that stuff. Triple H was always one of my favorites. Triple H, Jericho, Kane, Rock, Austin, you know, Mankind also I liked a lot. Cactus Jack. Like, I mean, that was just a freaking amazing era, you know?
Yeah. And the jokes, man, those jokes were so hilarious. Like, like remember when they were like Ms. McMahon loves cock, and it was about the animals, but you know, it was like double entendre on the jokes, but it was stuff like that, you know, he'll come back with Sean and they'll do like a little thing like a reunion, like they'll say these funny jokes, and you just get right back into that 90s vibe, even if it's 2010. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that I would miss from him doing that. But I felt like I knew it was coming before the heart thing. Like, when he tore his pec at Mania, I was like, I think he's not really coming back from that one, because it was like right at the beginning of the match, if I'm correct, right? Like first 5 minutes or something, he tore it, and then
I think so.
Match. So I was just like, the funny jokes always like got me, and he was one of my favorites. And like, I don't know if I said it to you, Ace, on when we did a live, or somebody else, but like he was like the one that actually got me like looking at supplements, because I'm like 14 years old watching this on UPN 9, you know, in New York. That was like SmackDown for us on local channel. And I literally went to the store and I was like, hey, can I get the stacker too? Like, you remember how he was like right in front of it, and he was like, do you know what that is? I was like, yeah, my favorite wrestler takes that, and then he's like, yeah, he gets like he loses weight and everything, and he's like, you got to be 18 for this. And I was like, I like, but that's like how like he got like I got into it with being such a fan, and then also like, hey, this is him pushing a product that actually will help you, but when I try those Stacker 2 later on, them things is no joke. So,
Those
Bro.
ephedrine.
Yeah. But it's crazy to think they used to sell that stuff in freaking Rite Aid and Walgreens, right? It's freaking insane to think about that. Hammer, give us a couple of thoughts about the Rumble, just, any general ideas you have. I'm going to start going through some of these comments over here, see what we got, if we have any questions or anything. But give us just a couple of general thoughts from whatever you did watch.
Yeah, I mean, I was just, for me, and I get it, like the fact that it was in like Saudi Arabia, like that means like anyone you're flying out for like a goofy little like run-in spot is potentially costing 10 grand, because between the travel, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I get why maybe like there wasn't as many like surprise moments in the Rumble. But that being said, that's the most fun for me. Like, yeah, it's always interesting to think of the Rumble as this vehicle to, give someone a title shot who you didn't see getting it before, which they didn't do. So they didn't deliver on either of those aspects, because they get the Roman Reigns is a guy who he doesn't need to win the Rumble to get that title shot. You know what I'm saying? Like he could just have a qualifying match on Raw, and he's legitimate enough that you're like, yeah, it makes sense for him to just get this opportunity, Whereas, historically, you could have someone who's never even sniffed the world title win the Royal Rumble, and now all of a sudden go, oh crap, can this guy win it? That being said, I do think the setup of Punk and Reigns is great, and I think like just the business they're already doing promo wise is great. But to have kind of a predictable winner, and then no really cool surprises, like you already touched on it. Like I was really wanting Jericho to come back. And not even like the thing is like, do I want him to come back and win and be this big part of the show? No, I just want to hit his music and have the surprise of, whatever. But that being said, it was cool to see Hobbs in there. I mean, I've been friends with Hobbs for over a decade, probably. I think I wrestled him in like 2017 for the first time. And he's, just a hardworking, very kind person, He's always been very like polite and respectful, and like anytime I did stuff at AEW, he was never like big leaguing me. He was always like super cool. So it was great to see him get his moment, and hope it turns into something good for him. But yeah, the Rumble was kind of just what it was this year.
Yeah, man. Well said. You broke everything down. Nothing really left for me to add. I love Roman. I think he's one of the most legit stars, so I'm okay with him winning, but I could also understand why people wouldn't be happy about it. But one thing I wanted to touch upon, because you mentioned him and Punk doing good business, which I do agree with. I'm actually really happy for Punk, because that Punk versus Reigns, it's going to end up a night 2 main event. In my opinion, and I know that Punk has said that it doesn't matter to him night 1 or night 2, I will always view night 2 as the true main event. And you know that Punk always wanted a main event Mania. And I don't care if he says night 1 is just as important. You know that deep down, he wants to main event night 2, the main event. So he's going to get it this year, as long as he doesn't get injured. I will be praying for him, but I'm happy for him. I like Punk,
It's just interesting to see, because I see it on the smaller scale with like MLW, for example, because it's like when I left MLW, I quit. Like we had like 6 months of arguments of like trying to get out of my contract, and there was bad blood, and there was talk about being sued and all this shit. And then there's been lots of people over the years who had like those ins and outs with the company. And now I'm back there, and we have like this great relationship, and I'm seeing other people back there who like Austin Aries. Like people can think whatever they want about him, but he's like so helpful, so nice, such a team player, like just doing good shit. So it just goes to show in wrestling how like people have these cycles, right? And Punk had this cycle where he was like, he's never coming back to WWE. He's ostracized from the business. he reached his zenith, and he'll never go beyond that. And now, because he's had such a good attitude and like a good, maturing of character, like he comes back in the fold, and he's just like willing to be part of the team, and they're rewarding for him for that. So that's awesome to see. Like, not only did he come back and like do his part, but he is getting to have that main event he never got before, and have these runs that are gonna increase the legitimacy of his legacy.
100%. And people are saying, oh, he doesn't have that edge he had before and like that chip on his shoulder. Obviously, he doesn't have the chip on his shoulder. He's a different person than he was 10, 11, 12 years ago. But he's adapted to the role he's in now. He doesn't have that resentment that he had back then, which I'm sure fed into the promos. But I like where he's at right now. He's the veteran. He finally got the recognition, the respect that he really, in my opinion, deserved all those years ago. And, it seems like everything is water under the bridge, which is rare in this business where people hold grudges and whatnot. But I really am happy for him. And I really am happy he's going to main event night too. I think he really deserves it.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through some comments.
Extra check, though, honestly, for holding the title. After he went on the podcast and he was like, we get paid the same whether we hold the title or we don't, whether I'm at the beginning of the show or at the end. So I'm like, at least the Mania moment will kind of be the cherry on top if you're not getting an extra check, but at least you go out, and Roman Reigns is also professional, honestly. The last couple years, we've been getting A1 work from him, honestly. Whatever they gave him, whether it's the Bloodline, Cody, the Timu Bloodline, whatever he was fighting, like how they were calling it, or 2.0, but we always got A1 work from Roman. So that's something that I do appreciate from both wrestlers. And honestly, I think they're going to just go ham. I hope they get like 30 minutes, please. Like 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they will. All right, let's go through a couple of questions. We're not going to go through everything because I do got to get off here in a couple of minutes. Mm-hmm. But this is a fun one right here. Name a supplement that has the highest Stimmy Willy rating. So while you guys... Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
I was gonna say straight DMHA doesn't get me anymore. When I first started using it again a couple months ago, it would get me the stimuli. But now it's mostly it's like bunker formulas. And it's what's so freaking annoying is like every once in a while I'll use one and it doesn't have like the good positive effects. Like I don't get like a super good head buzz and euphoria. Like I'll be like, okay, this is something cooking, but it's not like super strong for me for whatever reason. But then I go to take a piss and I'm like, where are you?
Oh my god.
So it's like I get none of the positives but all the negatives. IR8 did that to me real bad.
Yeah, I got that on Irate. The ones that always do it to me, the two that always do it is Excelsior and Kill Switch. Those two, for whatever reason, but there was one recent one. This was the Dark Labs Halloween Crack limited edition. Bro, not only the Stimmy Willy, but it gives me the most insane delayed urination. I could literally stand over the toilet for 5-6 minutes. I'm not even kidding, bro. And it's like, you feel like you got to go, but it ain't coming out, It's freaking, oh my God. That's the only reason I stopped using it. I mean, I have most of my tub here and I love that pre-workout. I mean, that one hits so freaking nicely, but bro, that delayed urination is just no joke.
Yeah, I agree with you. Kill Switch does do that to me, even though, for some reason, first time your sample hit good, but then the other sample, like the tubs that I got, gave me a weird reaction, it wasn't good. But Kill Switch does that, and I know you reviewed it recently. I tried it out a year ago. Force of Nature, that one, that pre-workout, that one. I think they only have it available in Florida. That you got to order it or something. That one gave really. I had to go take a leak, and I was just waiting a minute, that delayed urination was there for real.
Bro, it's the worst. It's the worst when you're in the gym by the urinal and you're just standing there for 2, 3, 4 minutes. It's like, God damn, bro, this is freaking next level right here.
People come in and out and they're like,
and you're still there.
Yeah, I'm still here. You look at them like, yeah.
Yeah, man. All right, next question we
Oh,
got
man.
here. How do you know if a supplement really has 2-amino and not? Jugglin's trash when there are so many labeled Jugglins online. So honestly, that is where reviewers such as myself, Harry, Hammer, and all the other reviewers come in, because we are the guinea pigs. We're testing out these products, and we're telling you how we feel. Now, obviously, products affect people differently, but 80%, 90% of the time, we can align on how certain products hit. So, like Mr. White, for instance, that one says Jugglin's Regia. I think it's got the goods. Maybe not as strong as some of the stuff that was around like a year and a half, 2 years ago, but I think it's got the goods. And then you have the other way. You have some. I reviewed one recently. Where was it? Right here. Reviewed this one recently, right? Notorious Rage. I reviewed this one recently. 225 milligrams 2-amino. Bro, they ain't nothing in here resembling 2-amino, okay? Wasn't a bad pre-workout, but there is definitely no 2-amino in there, not even Jugglin's Regia. So labels are just labels, and you have reputable companies, obviously, that you trust, that, continue doing good business, and they build up a reputation over time. But a lot of companies can also flip. They can make good products for 5 years, and then suddenly, that's it. Now we're just going to go generic. So really got to look into all aspects of things,
Yeah, for sure.
Any other thoughts?
I mean, it's kind of, it really is like you said, because not only does it come down to how like that ingredient is labeled, but like also dosing, because there's been products that say like, 300 milligrams, and you use it and you're like, nah, and then there's products that say 150, and you're like, dude, I was flying. So it's definitely one that, like, the sourcing is just so, it has so much variety on how it's going to impact, and also like the formula it's in and like what it's with, like, can strongly affect the effect you get from it. Like there's, like a lot of people just say like, oh, 2-amino is a super strong stimulant, and I'm like, take it by itself and see what the fuck happens. You are not going to get a stimulant effect. And like, if you put it with a bunch of nootropics, it kind of acts like a nootropic. But if you put it with like a heavy stim package, then it really becomes like a turbocharger. Like, it's more like a chameleon of an ingredient that kind of works with the formula it's in, more so than just like a predictable straight effect. There was this guy on the Reddit forums one time complaining because he had bought Araya and he had bought 2-amino, and he's like, I dosed it up to this much and got nothing from it. I was like, and what did you take it with? He's like, well, nothing. He's like, I'm trying to use these as a break from caffeine to reset my caffeine tolerance. It's like, you kind of need caffeine to get the effect you want out of that ingredient. He's like, well, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, how does that not, like, that's how it works. It's not necessarily a single-use ingredient. It's really a supplementary thing. So it's like, that's why you never see a stim-free product, but it has 300 milligrams of 2-amino, because it would basically be wasting the ingredient.
Yeah, 100%, man. I've tried also, when I used to dabble with the the bulk stimulant stuff, I dabbled with a lot of that stuff on their own first, and it really didn't do anything. So definitely makes sense what you said there. All right. The Alfeo does scare me. So he's talking about High Stim Hitter. I had dysphoria and runny nose from a heaping scoop of Rect and Raged on my first run. Yeah, I think we all did. Yeah, I don't know which direction to go with the dosing. So this is exactly why, we're doing it 40-20, even though I always make fun of 40-20, because a lot of times the stuff I review that's 40-20, no one's taking it at half a dose. You know what I mean? So then it's kind of a joke, 40-20. But if you have like an Apollon product, right, which is fully loaded, like Assassin or Hooligan, 1 or 2 scoops, or half a scoop or 1 scoop, whatever format they use, but it's the same concept here. So definitely start off with 1 scoop, provided you do pick it up. You can pair a little more pumps on top of it, and it's just going to work really, really well. And like I touched upon earlier, their Alfeo, it's not quite as strong. It's definitely not on the level of Rect and Raged, okay? So don't worry about that. Like, I literally stack the Rewolskine from Project M on a lot of stuff. It's 3 milligrams. It feels like 1. So I really, really wouldn't worry about it. He has a follow-up comment also. Sorry, I keep cutting you off, Harry. Let me just read this.
It's fine, man. Don't worry
I
about
apologize. He says it's a good thing to have theanine caps in your glove compartment. Always. I always freaking have theanine caps on me. Always. Harry, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
No, that comparing myself, like, to Hammer and High Stim Ace, honestly, like for me, I'm a little bit more sensitive to the DMHA. So it's like I can't, like, if I run a DMHA pre-workout, it's gonna hit me hard or harder than potentially what the effects are for you. But when I get like a nootropic pre-workout, it kind of, that's like where I kind of feel like like my workouts shine the most. But also because I'm so sensitive to the DMHA, I can really tell if it's real or not. Like, perfect example, like you take the Pillager pre-workout, like that got the jugglins. I think the original one had the jugglins before the remake.
Yeah.
And then you compare it like to Scary Hours limited edition, and you get two different hits of that one really has the two amino. For me personally, that Scary Hours limited edition smacked the hell out of me. I was just like, what? Didn't have DMHA for, I think it was like 2 weeks, and then took a full scoop of that, and I was just gone for the rest of the day. Like, it hits good. So it's like, I guess that's where he's that person who commented was talking about. I think he's in that realm of, like, when DMHA hits him, it hits him a little stronger. So the other pre-workouts, I think Wrecked and Rage is one that will give you a little bit of the jitters, just because it's really stacked, but it won't get you like you shouldn't be scared of that regardless. But yeah, and one last thing, I did try out that Hugh supplements, the new Wrecked. Jesus Christ, like, Ace, what the hell is in that crap? Like, that thing just is crazy.
You're talking about the original Wrecked, like their core.
No, the new formula that I think I got said, like, the new formula that they came out, the Hugh supplements.
The Wrecked, I'm saying the Wrecked.
The Wrecked, yeah.
Bro, it's freaking amazing.
I'm like,
it's so good.
I literally was looking at the label at the gym because it was like, I was like, what the. It shocked me for real, man. So yeah,
bro, that's a fully loaded. That's like top shelf daily, but like the top of the top. I freaking love that one, man. I never had a bad workout. And if you want, you can even stack like an Araya capsule on it, and that really takes things to the next level. So we got we have a bunch of questions, but I got to get going. So final question here. Great show, guys. Has the flavor for High Stim Hitter been announced yet? Maybe I missed it earlier. Yes, the flavor has been announced. It is a cherry lime twist flavor. So it's going to be good. We could have gone with berry or grape, but I feel like everybody does those, and I'm not a fan of berry to begin with. So we went with the cherry lime twist, and I do believe it's going to be a good flavor. Sophia just joined us, but Sophia, we're logging off right now. We've been going for an hour and 12 minutes. We are literally logging off, but make sure not to go anywhere. Watch the replay as soon as it's on. Don't forget to like on your way out as well. Guys, thank you so much for joining today. It was such an awesome show. We definitely got to do this together, the three of us. It was absolutely incredible. Harry, start us off. Give us your plugs. I linked everything in the video description, so whoever's watching this, Harry's Instagram, Hammer's Instagram, the YouTube's, everything is linked already. But go ahead and give your plugs, my friend.
All right, so I'm doing reviews, always catching up because there's always something new. So premium supplement reviews on YouTube, and I keep the Harry WFS and PSR. Those are my promo codes for specific companies. Affiliated with a lot of them, not as much as YouTube guys, because I seen your review. God damn, you got a whole box to review, Ace. But yeah, so besides that, he put everything in the descriptions. I got one more pop that I did tell Ace that I want to get from Hammer, because this is from episode 2 from the High Stim experience. So hold up, I gotta take off the hoodie.
Okay, what have we got going on here right now?
Custom shirt. The logo.
No.
Yeah, I got it made.
Damn.
I want to get that pop.
My God.
That's a freaking untapped money well right there.
Honestly,
damn, but that's a sick graphic. Yo, come bring that a little closer. That's a sick graphic, though. Oh my
God.
God,
I literally did the AI stuff. So I had to do it. Man.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I was not expecting that. I know you said you had a little tease, but I was not expecting. That's freaking amazing, bro. Oh my God.
One last pop.
And that's the way to go out on Hammer. Just give us your plugs, my brother.
Same old, same old. You guys know the shtick. Follow the links, do the things, click the buttons, and we'll catch you next time.
All that other fun stuff. Guys, thank you so much for joining. It was a freaking awesome time, and you guys are definitely going to be getting your own tubs to review, but on the one condition that you keep it objective, and even if your review is negative, I still want to hear it because V2 is going to be all that much better. All right, everybody, that'll be all. For those of you watching the Super Bowl, enjoy it. Peace out, everybody. We're out.